You remember the story even if it was never explained to you directly. A figure stood at the edge of impossibility, not surrounded by applause, but by danger. Every option looked wrong. Every path forward felt watched. He had obeyed before, trusted before, and still ended up cornered. Behind him, a force determined to destroy. In front of him, nothing but uncertainty. Yet what looked like a dead end was actually the setup for divine interruption. The trap was real, but so was the escape already prepared. You are standing in a moment like that now, not with armies and seas, but with invisible pressure. You wake up feeling like something is closing in: deadlines, expectations, unspoken disappointments. You keep moving, but the ground beneath you feels unstable. You've tried to do the right thing, you've avoided shortcuts, and yet, somehow, you feel boxed in. This is exactly where spiritual traps thrive, not in obvious evil, but in seasons where obedience seems unrewarded. The trap is subtle. It doesn't scream danger, it whispers resignation. It tells you, this is just how life is, and it tells you, lower your expectations, and it tells you, stop praying so boldly nothing changes anyway. That is not wisdom, that is containment. Think about your work life. You may be employed, productive, reliable, yet deeply unfulfilled. You do what's required, but something inside you knows you're operating below capacity. Not because you're lazy, but because discouragement has clipped your wings and you once had vision. Now you manage survival. That shift didn't happen overnight. It happened quietly. That's how traps are built, one compromise of hope at a time. Or consider your family relationships. You love them, but communication feels strained. You avoid certain conversations because they always end the same way. So you stay silent, you adjust, you shrink. And over time, peace becomes the absence of conflict rather than the presence of truth. That, too, is a trap not of hatred but of emotional captivity. But listen carefully. God does not rescue randomly. He rescues purposefully. The moment when there appears to be no way forward is often the moment heaven steps in with authority. What looks like an impossible boundary is often the exact place where God demonstrates power, not just to free you, but to redefine how you see Him. The spiritual trap you're facing was designed to make you believe you are stuck. God's intervention is designed to remind you that He specializes in making paths where none appear. As was spoken in the sacred texts of old. In the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 13, do not be afraid. Stand firm and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. Notice the order. Do not be afraid. Stand firm. Then see. Deliverance is not always immediate motion. It is often revealed after stillness. The trap wants you frantic. God wants you anchored. Fear accelerates the snare. Faith dismantles it. Look at your finances again. Maybe income is steady, but growth is blocked. You pay bills, but savings never seem to increase. Every time you get close, something unexpected pulls you back. The trap says, this is your limit. God says, stand firm, not reckless spending, not despair. Stand firm in stewardship and trust. Provision is not just about money, it's about direction. And direction breaks cycles. Here is where hope becomes concrete. Imagine waking up without that tightness in your chest. Imagine making decisions without fear dictating the outcome. Imagine realizing that the pressure you endured did not weaken you. It trained you to recognize false doors. That is not fantasy. That is what happens when traps are exposed. Let me ask you something directly. What fear has been deciding for you lately? Is it fear of losing stability? Fear of disappointing others? Fear of stepping out and being seen? Name it, because unnamed fear becomes a cage, but once exposed, it loses authority. You are not powerless here. The same God who made a way where none was visible is still operating with precision. He is not late, he is not confused, and he has not forgotten you in this tight place. The pressure is not proof of defeat, it is evidence that a boundary is about to be crossed. This season will not end with you trapped. It will end with you walking through what once looked impossible, carrying a testimony you didn't ask for but will one day thank God for. If this message is reaching you in a moment of pressure, pause with it. Like the video so it reaches others standing at their own edge. Share it with someone who feels boxed in but doesn't know why. Subscribe to stay connected to what God is revealing here. And at the end, comment the number 1 or 44 as a declaration that you believe God still makes a way even now. You are not surrounded. You are being delivered. You were not targeted because you were weak. You were targeted because you carry something that cannot remain hidden forever. Light attracts resistance not because it announces itself, but because darkness recognizes what threatens its order. Pressure does not arrive randomly. Opposition does not form by accident. When resistance surrounds a life, it is often because that life is moving in a direction that matters. You have felt this since early on, even before you understood language like calling or destiny. You sensed that you were different. You processed emotions more deeply. You noticed injustice more sharply. You carried responsibility earlier than others your age. While some people drifted through life untouched, you were shaped by experiences that forced maturity. That was not misfortune. That was preparation. The trap set against you was never only about stopping your progress. It was about convincing you to mislabel yourself, to see depth as heaviness, to see awareness as anxiety, to see discipline as limitation. If your identity can be distorted, your direction can be delayed, and delay is often the enemy's greatest victory. Look closely at your professional life. You may not be the loudest voice in the room, but when problems arise, your name comes up. When systems fail, people lean on you to stabilize them, yet recognition does not always follow responsibility. Sometimes you're expected to hold everything together without being seen. Over time, that imbalance creates fatigue, and fatigue, if left unaddressed, becomes a trap. It whispers that your effort is pointless. But hear this clearly, the weight you carry is not evidence of exploitation. It is evidence of capacity. Not everyone is entrusted with pressure. Some are shielded from it because they would break under its demands. You, however, were built to endure without losing your integrity. Consider your role within your family. You might be the one who listens more than speaks, who absorbs tension so others don't have to. You may feel like the emotional regulator keeping peace, smoothing conflicts, translating feelings. That role often goes unacknowledged, and when appreciation is absent, resentment tries to take root. The trap here is subtle. You begin to believe your value is only in what you provide, not in who you are. Spiritual traps often exploit your strengths by stretching them beyond healthy limits. Your loyalty becomes overcommitment. Your patience becomes prolonged tolerance of harm. Your compassion becomes self-neglect. What God intended as virtues are pushed into extremes to exhaust you. Notice when resistance intensified in your life. It often increased right after moments of clarity, when you decided to change direction, when you tried to set boundaries, when you committed to growth. That timing is not accidental. Opposition rises when movement threatens established patterns. The ancient words recorded in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 31, still echo today. If God is for us, who can be against us? This is not a denial of opposition. It is a declaration of hierarchy. Yes, resistance exists, but it is not ultimate. Yes, pressure surrounds, but it is not sovereign. When God is for you, opposition becomes a tool rather than a verdict. What was meant to stop you becomes what strengthens you. Look at how this applies to your finances. You may feel like progress is slower than expected. You plan carefully, avoid unnecessary risk, and still face setbacks. The trap says, you'll never get ahead. But wisdom is not stagnation. Steady movement is still movement. God's favor does not always look like speed, it often looks like sustainability. In relationships, you may have noticed people drifting away as you grew clearer. Conversations changed, comfort decreased. Some connections faded without explanation. That loss hurts. But sometimes separation is not rejection, it is alignment. Not everyone can walk with you into the next version of yourself, and trying to drag them along only delays you. Here is a truth that may unsettle you before it frees you. If you were insignificant, you would be ignored. The fact that pressure follows you is not proof of error, it is proof of impact. The enemy invests energy only where there is return. Resistance forms only where influence is possible. Let me ask you directly, where have you mistaken opposition for disqualification? Where have you assumed that difficulty means you're on the wrong path, when it may actually mean you're on the right one? That question matters. Because how you interpret resistance determines whether you retreat or mature. Hope begins when interpretation shifts. When you stop seeing pressure as punishment and start seeing it as confirmation. You were not targeted because you lack value. You were targeted because you possess it. You are not overwhelmed because you are incapable. You are stretched because you are being expanded. This season is not here to crush you, it is here to reveal what has been forming quietly beneath the surface. And when this becomes clear, the trap loses its power, because clarity dismantles deception. And you were never meant to live confused about who you are. Spiritual traps rarely announce themselves. They do not arrive with warning signs or dramatic collapse. They slip into your life disguised as normal patterns, habits you excuse, thoughts you tolerate, delays you explain away. By the time you sense something is wrong, the trap has already been tightening quietly. Not to destroy you all at once, but to disorient you just enough that you forget how you used to move with clarity. This is the phase where many chosen ones get confused, not lost but blurred. You still pray, but your focus drifts. You still work, but motivation feels thinner. You still love, but joy feels muted. Nothing looks broken on the outside, but inside, something feels off. That is often the clearest sign a spiritual trap is active, not chaos but dullness, not crisis but heaviness without explanation. One of the most common signs is delay that doesn't respond to effort. You try harder, plan better, rest more, and yet the same obstacles repeat. You begin to question yourself. Am I missing something? Why does this feel harder than it should? That question is important because repetition without revelation is not normal. It is diagnostic. Look at a practical example from daily life. Imagine your workdays blending together. You complete tasks efficiently, but creativity feels blocked. Ideas come slower. Confidence hesitates. You scroll more than you think. You postpone decisions you used to make quickly. That is not laziness. That is mental fog. And mental fog is one of the enemy's favorite tools because a confused mind struggles to exercise authority. Another sign appears in your emotions. Small things irritate you more than they should. Conversations exhaust you faster. You withdraw not out of wisdom but out of depletion. The trap wants isolation because isolation weakens discernment. When you stop reflecting with clarity, you start accepting things you once would have questioned. Even your spiritual life can show symptoms. You may feel resistance when opening scripture. Prayer becomes shorter, more mechanical, not because you don't believe, but because weariness has crept in. The trap convinces you that rest means disengagement, when in reality rest should restore alignment. The Word of God warns us with precision in the book of Proverbs, chapter 29, verse 18, where there is no vision, the people perish. Perish here does not mean sudden destruction. It means slow unraveling, loss of direction, gradual decay of purpose. When vision fades, traps become harder to recognize because you forget what forward was supposed to look like. Consider your finances again. Maybe money isn't gone, but progress has stalled. You earn, you spend, you repeat. No collapse, no breakthrough, just cycles. The trap here is comfort without growth. It keeps you busy enough not to panic, but stagnant enough not to advance. Vision breaks cycles. Without it, repetition feels normal. Relationships offer another clue. You may notice yourself tolerating dynamics that drain you, conversations that go nowhere, connections that pull more than they give. You tell yourself, this is just how it is. But resignation is often the language of a trap. Vision would challenge it. Vision would ask for change. Let me ask you plainly what has slowly become acceptable that once would have concerned you. That question matters. Because traps don't begin with major compromise. They begin when standards quietly lower, when discernment dulls, when spiritual alertness fades into routine. Yet here is the hope you must not miss. Awareness means the trap is already weakening. The fact that you are sensing something is wrong means your discernment is waking back up. The fog is thinning. The numbness is breaking. Traps rely on unconscious participation. The moment you see the pattern, its grip loosens. You are not failing, you are noticing. Vision is returning in fragments, through discomfort, through holy dissatisfaction, through that inner tension that refuses to settle. That tension is not anxiety, it is alignment trying to reassert itself. Picture yourself months from now, moving with clarity again, making decisions without second-guessing every step, feeling energy return not manic, but steady. Imagine your work regaining purpose, your relationships regaining honesty, your prayers regaining depth. That future is not imaginary. It is the natural result of vision restored. But restoration requires response. This is where participation matters, not performance participation. You don't need to fix everything today. You need to acknowledge what you see. That simple act disrupts the trap's structure. So here is your moment of response. In the comments, write this short phrase, eyes open, not as superstition, as declaration. Because when you write it, you are naming what is happening internally. You are agreeing with awareness instead of numbness. You are choosing vision over drift. And let the phrase remind you of this truth: traps lose power when exposed. Confusion weakens when clarity speaks. And you were never meant to live on autopilot. One final question for you now that you can see the pattern. Will you pretend you didn't? Your answer will shape what comes next. There was a moment when a king realized his plans kept failing. Every strategy collapsed before it could unfold. Every ambush was exposed before it was sprung. He gathered his officers in frustration, convinced there must be betrayal in the room. Someone, somewhere, was leaking secrets. But the truth was more unsettling than treachery. There was a man of God who heard what was spoken in private chambers. Not by spying, by revelation. Heaven was intercepting what was meant to harm. That story is not ancient history, it is a pattern. You may not face armies or kings, but you have felt that same tension when something meant to block you somehow loses power before it reaches you. Plans formed against your peace never fully land. Words spoken behind your back don't stick the way they should. Traps that should have closed somehow misfire. You may have called it luck, or coincidence, or timing. But there is another explanation: exposure before execution. This is how God protects chosen ones. Not always by removing danger, but by revealing it early. Think about your everyday life. At work, you sensed something wasn't right about a proposal that looked perfect on paper. Everyone else was enthusiastic, but you hesitated. Later, hidden costs surfaced, or ethical issues emerged. What saved you wasn't information, it was discernment. The plan failed because it was seen. Or consider relationships. You felt uneasy about trusting someone fully, even though nothing obvious was wrong. You couldn't explain it. You felt guilty for doubting. But weeks later, intentions became clear. Boundaries saved you from deeper damage. That was not suspicion, though that was spiritual sight. The enemy's strategies are rarely loud. They are quiet, calculated, patient. But God's exposure is precise. He reveals just enough, just in time, not to scare you, but to steer you. The danger comes when you ignore what is revealed. Many people fall not because traps are hidden, but because warnings are dismissed. Intuition silenced, conviction overridden, discernment labeled as overthinking. That is where harm enters, not through ignorance, but through resistance to insight. The ancient account records this clearly in the second book of Kings, chapter 6, verse 12. The prophet who is in Israel tells the king of Israel the words you speak in your bedroom. This is not about omniscience, it is about coverage. God sees what is planned before it reaches you. He hears what is whispered before it becomes action, and He chooses to reveal not everything, but what you need to stay aligned. Look at your finances through this lens. Perhaps you were spared an investment that everyone else rushed into. Maybe you felt led to save instead of spend, even when pressure said otherwise. Later, economic shifts proved that restraint was protection. Exposure prevented entrapment. Or think about health. That nudge to rest when you wanted to push harder. The appointment you almost canceled. The habit you felt convicted to change early. Traps don't always look spiritual. Sometimes they wear practical clothing, but prevention is still divine. Here is the hopeful truth: you are not as vulnerable as you feel. There is intelligence surrounding your life, not human intelligence, heavenly insight. The same God who exposed secret plans then is still disrupting hidden agendas now. You are not walking blindly. You are being guided quietly. But guidance requires trust. When God reveals something, it is not always dramatic. Sometimes it arrives as discomfort, sometimes as delay, sometimes as a closed door that frustrates you. But every exposure is an invitation to cooperate, not complain. Let me ask you directly, what warning have you felt but not fully honored? Was it a conversation you avoided, a decision you postponed, a boundary you softened? That awareness was not random. It was interception. And here is where this becomes beautiful, not fearful. God does not expose to shame you. He exposes to shield you. He doesn't reveal traps to make you anxious. He reveals them to keep you free. Picture this image with me. Light is fragile if kept to itself. But when one flame touches another, the room changes. If something here illuminated a blind corner in your life, pressing is like cupping that flame so it doesn't go out. If you sense this light could help someone you love, sharing it is like carrying a lamp into their dark hallway. And if you feel peace settling as you listen, choosing to stay connected, subscribing is like deciding to live near the well instead of visiting it only when you're thirsty. No pressure, no demand, just a beautiful choice. One last question: will you trust what God reveals, even when it doesn't yet make sense? Because when exposure comes before harm, that is not interruption. That is mercy moving ahead of you. Word count 936. There comes a moment when prayer must mature, not disappear but shift posture. Because there is a difference between asking from fear and standing from authority. Many chosen ones remain trapped not because God has withheld power, but because they continue to pray as if permission has not already been granted. You have been asking God to fix what He has already empowered you to confront. This is not disrespect, it is misunderstanding. And misunderstanding quietly drains confidence. Authority does not mean arrogance, it means alignment. It means recognizing what has already been placed in your hands and choosing to use it responsibly in everyday life. Spiritual authority is not reserved for dramatic moments. It shows up in how you speak, decide, refuse, and persist when no one is watching. Start with something practical. Notice your language during stress. When work pressure rises, do you say, "I can't handle this"? Or do you say, "I will take this one step at a time"? Words are not decorations, they are declarations. Authority begins when you stop reinforcing helplessness with your own mouth. In your workplace, authority looks like clarity. Instead of praying endlessly for toxic situations to change while remaining silent, authority may require a calm conversation, a boundary, a decision to stop over-delivering without recognition, not confrontation conviction. Standing does not mean fighting. It means no longer shrinking. Consider finances. Many people pray for provision but continue patterns that undermine stewardship. Authority looks like budgeting honestly, saying no to impulse spending, seeking counsel, planning with wisdom. God often releases provision through discipline, not miracles alone. When you act in alignment, prayer stops being desperate and becomes cooperative. Even in family dynamics, authority matters. You don't need to pray someone else into maturity while excusing dysfunction. Authority may look like emotional honesty, like refusing to engage in cycles of manipulation, like loving without rescuing. This is not hardness, this is health. Here is where many get confused. They think authority means control. It does not. Authority means responsibility for what is within your reach, not domination over others. You cannot control outcomes, but you can govern your responses. The Apostle Paul reminds us clearly in his letter to the Corinthians, chapter 10, verse 4, "The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds." Notice what is demolished strongholds. Not people, not circumstances directly. Strongholds are patterns of thought, fear, passivity, and false belief. The trap you are breaking is not always external. Often, it is internal permission you never realized you gave. So here are concrete shifts you can practice immediately. First, stop praying against what you are meant to command. Instead of God, remove this fear. Try, "I choose not to act from fear today." That is authority in action. Second, replace endless waiting with obedient movement. If you've been praying for direction but already sensed the next right step, take it. Authority grows through obedience, not over-analysis. Third, guard your environment. Authority includes what you allow to influence you. Reduce voices that feed anxiety. Increase input that strengthens discernment. This is not avoidance. It is stewardship of your mind. Fourth, honor rest. Exhaustion erodes authority. A tired soul defaults to survival instead of leadership. Rest is not retreat, it is refueling. Even Jesus withdrew to regain clarity. Let me ask you directly, where have you been asking God to intervene when He's been waiting for you to stand? That question may unsettle you. That's good. Growth often begins with discomfort. Now imagine this shift taking root. You wake up less frantic. Decisions feel steadier. You stop replaying conversations in your head. You don't need constant reassurance. Not because life is perfect, but because you trust what has been entrusted to you. This is the breaking point of the trap. Not when circumstances change overnight, but when your posture does. And this is where participation matters again. If this message resonates, mark this moment in the comments. Write the number 318, not randomly. 318 represents standing trained, not begging unprepared. It marks a decision to move from asking for permission to exercising responsibility. It is a quiet line in the sand between who you were and who you are becoming. One final reminder before we move forward: authority does not shout. It does not rush. It does not prove itself. It stands calmly, rooted in what has already been given. You are not powerless. You are not waiting on heaven. Heaven has been waiting on you to rise into what you already carry. The number 318 represents trained authority, those who no longer panic in battle but rise prepared, disciplined, and aligned, knowing they carry responsibility, not desperation, into every spiritual confrontation. When you write 318, you declare you are no longer waiting to be rescued. You are stepping forward as someone equipped, alert, and entrusted to act with wisdom, courage, and obedience. There is a moment after authority is understood, but before freedom is fully felt. It is a quiet space where resistance still lingers, not because power is absent, but because alignment is still settling into the body, the mind, the habits of daily life. This is where many people assume nothing is happening. In truth, this is where the deepest work takes place. Breaking a spiritual trap is not always loud. Sometimes it is internal reordering. You may notice that external circumstances have not changed yet, but your reactions have. You pause where you once panicked. You breathe where you once rushed. You listen before responding. These are not small shifts. They are evidence that something fundamental is being rewired. Traps lose power when they no longer control your inner posture. This stage often feels strange because you are no longer who you were, but you are not yet standing fully in what is next. Old habits try to reclaim territory. Familiar fears knock softly. The temptation is to interpret this as failure. It is not. It is transition. Think about everyday routines that you wake up and notice your first thought is different. Not optimistic, not dramatic, just steady. You go through your workday with fewer emotional spikes. Problems still appear, but they don't dominate your nervous system. That is not numbness. That is regulation. Regulation is strength returning to the body. In relationships, you may notice distance forming not because you are withdrawing, but because you are no longer feeding unhealthy patterns. You listen without absorbing. You care without rescuing. Some people will feel that shift and resist it. Others will respect it silently. Either way, you are no longer trapped in reaction. This is where spiritual warfare becomes subtle. The enemy no longer attacks with chaos. He tests with familiarity. Old thoughts resurface. Maybe you're overthinking. Maybe you're doing too much. Maybe this clarity won't last. These thoughts are not truth. They are echoes of former confinement. You are not required to argue with them. You simply don't agree. The ancient words recorded in the letter to the Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 13. Speak directly into this stage, therefore put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground. And after you have done everything, To stand. Notice the emphasis. Stand. Not strive endlessly, not panic, not run ahead. Stand. Standing is an act of faith when movement is tempting but unnecessary. Many traps reform when people move prematurely, mistaking activity for obedience. Look at your finances again. After deciding to steward wisely, there may be moments of impatience. You want quick results, but standing means continuing the practice even when progress feels slow. Consistency breaks cycles more effectively than sudden bursts of effort. At work, standing may mean refusing to revert to over-explaining yourself. You do your job with integrity. You communicate clearly. You stop proving what time will eventually confirm. That restraint is not passivity. It is confidence settling in. Health follows the same pattern. You may not feel immediate transformation, but your body begins to trust safety again. Sleep improves gradually. Breathing deepens. Tension releases in stages. Healing is rarely instant. It is layered. This is also where prayer changes form again. It becomes less about words and more about presence. Less about asking and more about agreeing. You don't repeat requests anxiously. You hold truth quietly. You allow peace to do its work. Let me ask you something gently. Can you stay steady without immediate validation? That question matters because traps often lure people back by offering urgency. Fix this now. Prove this today. Explain yourself. Standing resists that pull. Standing trusts process. There is hope here, and it is very practical. You will begin to notice space where there used to be pressure, time where there used to be rush, clarity where there used to be noise. These are not accidental benefits. They are signs of internal authority stabilizing. You may also notice grief surface briefly. Grief for how long you lived constrained. Grief for choices made under fear. That grief is not regression. It is release. Acknowledging loss allows you to move forward unburdened. As this section unfolds in your life, remember traps do not vanish overnight, but they lose their grip when you stop feeding them energy. Attention fuels them. Awareness dissolves them. You are learning to live unhooked. And soon, very soon, what once felt like effort will feel natural. Standing will feel normal. Peace will feel deserved. Not because you earned it, but because you finally stopped resisting it. This is not the end of the process, but it is the moment where freedom becomes sustainable, not temporary. Freedom settles quietly now, like morning light filling a room you once guarded in darkness. You realize nothing dramatic changed, yet everything did. You are no longer bracing for attack. You are standing, present, unafraid, and no longer owned by yesterday's patterns. You are not leaving the trap behind in haste. You are leaving it crowned. There is no urgency in your steps now, no backward glance, no need to prove escape. What has changed is not your environment first, but your position within it. You are no longer moving as someone watched by danger, but as someone watched over. This is what it means to be marked. Being marked does not mean life becomes effortless. It means life becomes intelligible. You no longer confuse pressure with punishment. You no longer assume resistance means rejection. You recognize patterns early, not because you are paranoid, but because your discernment has matured. Traps still exist, but they no longer surprise you, and they no longer define your decisions. You carry yourself differently now. At work, you notice it. You speak less defensively. You choose your moments. You no longer chase approval from people who benefit from your silence. Your excellence is quieter but more consistent. And strangely, doors begin to open without force. Not all at once, but steadily. In finances, you feel the shift too. Money no longer controls your emotions. You don't panic at fluctuation or inflated gain. You plan, you pause, you decide. That steadiness is a form of wealth many never reach. In relationships, you no longer abandon yourself to keep peace. You listen with compassion, but you don't absorb chaos. You love without rescuing. You walk away without hatred when alignment is no longer possible. And that freedom does not harden you, it softens you, because you are no longer exhausted. This is what walking guarded looks like. Not walls, not suspicion, but wisdom that stands watch while you live. The Word of God affirms this covering clearly in the book of Psalms, chapter 91, verse 11. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. All your ways, your decisions, your timing, your silence, your obedience. You are not protected only when you pray desperately. You are guarded as you walk forward calmly. This protection does not isolate you from the world. It stabilizes you within it. You still care deeply. You still feel compassion. You still notice injustice. But you are no longer overwhelmed by responsibility that was never yours to carry alone. Now comes a sacred choice not demanded, not rushed. When light steadies you like this, you naturally want to keep it near. Not to hoard it, but to remain close to its source. If this message anchored you, pressing like is like setting a seal on a letter, a quiet acknowledgement that truth arrived safely where it was sent. If someone you love is still navigating confusion, sharing this is like leaving a lamp lit in their window, not pulling them outside, only ensuring they're not walking blind. And if your spirit feels at home here, subscribing is like choosing to dwell near the watchtower, not because danger rules the land, but because wisdom chooses elevation. Nothing forced, nothing loud, only a beautiful alignment between what feeds you and where you remain. There is also power in naming a moment. Writing slows the soul. It marks transition. If clarity returned while listening, leave a comment not to explain everything, but to plant a flag that says, "This is where I stood differently." Let me ask you one final question and sit with it honestly. What would change if you stopped expecting the trap to come back? What if peace didn't require constant vigilance? What if joy didn't need justification? What if you trusted that what God dismantled does not need to be rebuilt in your thoughts? This is not naivete, this is maturity. You are not the same person who entered this message. You are steadier, quieter inside, less reactive, more anchored. That version of you will carry this freedom forward, not perfectly, but faithfully. You were never chosen to live braced for impact. You were chosen to walk alert, crowned, and free. And now you do. Freedom settles deeper now, not as excitement, but as rhythm. You notice decisions forming without strain, boundaries holding without explanation, and peace remaining even when circumstances fluctuate, because your center is no longer borrowed from fear or doubt anymore today. You carry wisdom differently now, not as information but instinct. Where you once hesitated, you sense direction. Where you once overextended, you rest. Strength feels quieter, yet firmer, because it no longer needs to prove itself to anyone else again. The future no longer appears threatening, only unfinished. You walk toward it without rushing, trusting timing over force. Each step confirms that guidance remains active, even in silence, shaping outcomes beyond your awareness, patiently, steadily, faithfully ahead without fear now. What remains is not vigilance, but devotion. You tend your inner life gently, choosing truth daily, And in that quiet consistency, your life becomes a refuge, not only for you, but for others watching, learning safety through you over time. You don't need to rush away from this moment. Let it remain open, unfinished in the best way. Some messages are not meant to conclude neatly. They are meant to echo, to return to you later when life presents a familiar crossroads. If something here helped you, if a sentence steadied your breath, if a thought loosened a knot you've carried quietly, then you already know what to do. Sharing it doesn't have to be an announcement. It can be a quiet passing of water to someone who hasn't said they're thirsty yet. You don't need to explain why. Meaning travels on its own. And if this message didn't fully land, that's all right too. Not every word is for every season, but perhaps one image stayed. One line lingered. One truth brushed past you and paused. You're allowed to keep just that. You don't owe the rest your attention. Growth doesn't always look like agreement. Sometimes it looks like recognition. Sometimes it looks like resistance that later softens into understanding. Sometimes it looks like silence, holding something without needing to name it yet. You are not required to do anything with this moment. There is no assignment attached, no expectation to feel transformed, just permission to notice what moved, what didn't, and what may return when you least expect it. Life will continue after this, messages will fade, noise will resume, but what was real will stay available, waiting patiently to be revisited. So walk on gently, carry what fits, leave what doesn't, and trust that whatever truly belongs to you will find its way back without force, without urgency, without needing to be chased. That's how truth works. It doesn't demand, it remains.